All right, we move to the Big Ten, Penn State and Illinois. We've got Penn State 14 in some spots, 15 in some spots. So make sure you shop around here. Them laying 2 touchdowns or so on the road in Champaign, Illinois, 48.5, 49 being the total here in this one. I'll say it right now. If you want to put a contender through 2 weeks of the season to be the most disappointing team in Power 5 college football, Illinois' got to be right up there right now here. And I know they beat Toledo, so really they're only 1-1. It's not like they're 0-2. They did win against Toledo, but man, it was just such an unimpressive performance against Toledo, and they needed a late touchdown drive from Altmaier in order to be able to win that football game. And then last week, and that's the thing that's been startling about Illinois. This was a hell of a defense last season, and they did lose a lot from that defense, but I didn't think they'd fall off this much. They have clearly fallen off, and they miss a lot of that NFL talent that departed from this football team in the offseason. I mean, giving up 28 points against Toledo, and then 34, and could not stop Jalen Daniels and that Kansas Jayhawks offense on the road last Friday night. 0-2 against the spread because of those defensive issues so far this season for Illinois. Penn State, on the other hand, 38-15 win against West Virginia. James Franklin doing James Franklin things, punching in that late touchdown, allowing Penn State to get the point spread cover in that win against West Virginia, that Saturday night game to open the season. And then basically they put it on cruise control against Delaware in their last game Saturday, 63-7 in that game. It's funny because in that game, Drew Aller, was very, very solid. Again, only 4 incomplete passes. They do. I will say this now, the more I see from Drew Aller, I think he's a little bit better even than Sean Clifford was for Penn State, at the quarterback position. I like what I've seen. They've got just this, and the running back position is certainly in great hands with Nick Singleton and company. And even the guy that got the primary carries because it was such a blowout, Katron Allen, 103 rushing yards for him last week for Penn State. So I don't know. This is one I don't think I'll be betting because to me, it doesn't seem like there's definitely some point spread value now on Illinois because they've looked so lackluster in the first 2 games. And remember, these teams played 2 seasons ago, and Illinois handed Penn State one of the more shocking upsets you'll see. Illinois was a 24.5 point underdog last year, and that game was at Happy Valley, Beaver Stadium at Penn State, and Illinois won 20-18 in overtime, and it was no fluke in 2021. Illinois had the 395 to 227 edge in total yards. So they did show that, they can pull a big upset here, but defense has really, really looked bad, and it's been on both sides for Illinois. You look at the run defense has struggled. Certainly the secondary, has given up some big plays as well. And you just look at that Kansas game last week, Daniels with 277 passing yards through the air, and they gave up 262 rushing yards to Kansas. Devin Neal alone with 120 yards on the ground for Kansas. I'm here to tell you that this Singleton kid for Penn State, he is a terrific running back. And if you're going to give up that kind of yardage on the ground to Kansas, how is he going to fare against your defense? That's a concern for me here for Illinois, a very big concern. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can, even with all these points. And definitely there's been some downgrading Illinois in the betting markets, to see this number where it's at. They're a 2 touchdown home underdog, but I don't think I can trust them. This defense is not, and Penn State looks really, really good, both sides of the ball to begin the season. West Virginia had a hard time moving it against them in the first game. And the one thing about Illinois is Altmaier, lots of room for improvement. I thought there wouldn't be that huge decline from DeVito to him. He's still definitely got to keep showing room for improvement. And the run game, which I didn't think would drop off as much too without Chase Brown for Illinois, the run game hasn't been, as good either for the Illini. Only 45 yards rushing for Reggie Love III in that game against Kansas last week. So I ain't stepping in front of Penn State at this point. I'm not willing to do it. What do you think here, C-Mac, Penn State, Illinois?
Yeah, until they get it fixed, I don't want my money on them. This was a late bet for me on Friday night with Illinois. I thought, that was game 1. We talked about it with the secondary, even the linebackers that went to the NFL, but it's been both. They've given up to the pass. So you talked about, but the run, we mentioned it. I think they gave up 188 to Toledo the day before, and I mentioned I thought get to practice, maybe they'd sure that up. They just got blasted by all right Kansas team on the ground. So until this defense, which they've hanged their hat on, and Bielema's been very good as a dog. That was another reason I went to it, and now he's here, a double-digit dog at home. Can they put this together? This week, they've had some success like you talked about, but it's just nothing at this minute I want to rush to. But I really don't love. I know Penn State looks really good, but I don't want the other side. James Franklin, double-digit dog. Favorite on the road. Maybe as a team this year that'll just go in there and blow them out. But I think this is a watch for me as well.
That is the one thing that I've got concerns about with laying it with Penn State. There's these bigger road favorite roles sometimes in Big Ten play, and they're not always covering these kind of numbers. So, but I don't want Illinois.
But everything you've seen, it's tough to take.
Bielema's reaming out his defense after the Toledo game, saying we got a lot to improve on. We got to be a whole lot better than that moving forward, and they showed nothing in terms of being better against Kansas on defense.
Nothing.
So, no, not going to do it. No Illinois for me, and it doesn't sound like it for Conor Mack either.